Good day. I have a theory. I have a theory that says that you can never be a great civilization, a great power, until you are able to innovate, conquer people, and get them addicted to your own unique product. Many people may have their own theories, but this is my own theory. That the conquest by great societies and civilizations also have a way of making them give you products that you get addicted to and you want from them so they can have some power over you. The British were very good at this. The British, in advancing their civilization, they had products, they had great inventions, railway, industrial revolution started with them. But ultimately, they were able to make countries that they had pacified with the machine guns and the guns they had to fall in love with alcohol. If it's not alcohol, well, in China's case, they made them to fall in love with opium. And when the Chinese says the Chinese Qing dynasty emperors said they didn't want the opium anymore for their people, the British fought a war with them, conquered them, two opium wars, and forced them to continue to buy opium. The Americans also conquered the Indians they met in the American continent and got them to like alcohol a lot. So much so that they had to put them in reserves. And even to this day, the Indians have an alcohol problem. The Chinese have become a modern day power. And the Chinese have got the world addicted on so many things. So many things. They've got us addicted on TikTok. They've got us addicted on products that are diverse and varied. Shein. But they also have got the world, especially the young ladies of the world these days, addicted on Labubu. Well, the Ukrainians are not left out. They are also a great power. They innovate. They innovate a lot. And one Ukrainian has given the world something that is causing so much problem that China just banned it recently. And that's OnlyFans. OnlyFans is owned by a Ukrainian American. And OnlyFans is known to be, how do I say it now? Something that a lot of white elderly men love a lot across the world. It's very popular not only among the whites, it's popular in the Arab world, it's popular in the Middle East, it's popular all over the world. OnlyFans is popular. In Africa, I may have failed to mention that the British also in modern day time has given us Bet 360. People are addicted to betting on Premier League. Why am I going around and talking about all this innovation and addiction? Well, it just turns out that if you didn't respect the Ukrainians for what they can give the world, you will respect them for what America wants out of them. Today, it was announced that Ukraine is about to sell drones to United States of America. It was President Zelensky who said it. He said that after extensive discussion with President Trump, Ukraine will soon be selling some of these cutting-edge drones that they had used in destabilizing Russia, held the Russian army and kept them at bay to America, especially now that Americans saw what they did with it in Operation Spiderweb, and they also saw what they are doing with it in the battlefront and the war front. But unfortunately, the news coming out of Ukraine is not a good one. Pokrovsk has been lost. Kupiansk has been surrendered and the Russians have entered it. Sovyansk and all the cities in Donbass, Lugansk, Zaporozhye, they are feeling the full brunt and the heat of the advancing Russian troops. And it is in this same moment also that while he is telling the world that he is about to sell drones to the Americans, President Zelensky has slipped in a very important request. He has said that it is very imperative that the European Union continue to pay the salaries of Russian soldiers, because as at this moment in time, there's a $40 billion shortfall in the Ukrainian budget. In the Ukrainian budget. And while the Europeans see the Ukrainian soldiers help to Ukraine as a donation of weaponry, they don't see soldiers as the responsibility of Europe. But for the Ukrainian president, he has extended that concept of weaponry to include the Ukrainian soldiers who are, on behalf of the European proxies, fighting the war against a very formidable Russian foe. Good day and welcome to my channel. My name is Ebimo Amungo and this is Ebimo Amungo's perspective on global affairs. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you have any comments regarding the views I express in this video, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. There's been a lot going on in the world, especially today. President Trump has been busy. One thing has come out of today's events and news cycle. President Trump says that a meeting between Zelensky and Putin will definitely happen. The Ukrainian president has been asking and calling for this meeting over several cycles and over a long time now. He wants to meet with Putin. What he wants to tell Putin or what he wants to ask of Putin, only him knows. But he seems to have the support of President Trump in making that request. And President Trump has said it's just a matter of time, it will happen. But the Russians are not so much in a hurry to meet with Zelensky. There's little matter of legitimacy of the Ukrainian president. The Ukrainian president, anyway, is doing all he can to consolidate his power because he has a very formidable foe in the nationalists who want to slowly edge him out of power. The recent demonstrations against his actions that he took against the anti-corruption bodies in Ukraine were hijacked or were sponsored or were pushed or inflamed. It was just made to explode because of the activities and the participation of nationalist elements who hijacked that protest. So he quickly rescinded or promised to rescind the law that he had recently signed against NABU and SAPU. Well, President Trump also said one very pertinent thing today. He said strategic arms limitation talks between America and Russia would be taking place again, that it is very imperative it takes place. We should not forget that in his first presidency, President Trump did quite a lot of things. First, he tore up the JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, between some Western countries, Russia and China, and Iran. He also took America out of several intermediate arms treaty, and nuclear treaties. He took them out of it. He was very sure that America didn't need all these treaties anymore, but somehow he has had a rethink. Because at this point, the Russia he has come to meet is not the Russia he left behind. This Russia is developing weapon systems at a very alarming rate, and this Russia is the greatest and most preeminent producer of nuclear materials, nuclear knowledge, and nuclear know-how in the world. Them and the Chinese are now leading the whole discussions, research, and cutting-edge developments and innovations in the nuclear field. It so also happens that building nuclear weapons need uranium. America does not produce that material anymore. They buy from Russia, ironically. Even now, upon all the 22,000 rounds of sanctions against Russia, America is still buying uranium from Russia to power nuclear plants in America, enriched uranium. America does not produce enriched uranium anymore. It is now the exclusive preserve of the Russians and the Chinese to produce this product. And if there is no limitation talks, it simply means that the next time they are discussing, who knows, the Russians may have added to their large stock of nuclear weapons, which they have. They have by far the largest stock of nuclear weapons. They have 7,000 warheads confirmed of nuclear warheads. They can easily ramp it up to maybe 10,000. The Chinese too are projected or said to have about 600. Many people don't even know anymore because the Chinese are so ahead in so many things and they've learned the fine art of secrecy. They are also learning to contend with the unending and unrelenting machinations of the CIA and the British MI5. Long espionage institutions that are in every cupboard or all around China, every computer and every chip and byte. They are in the cyberspace, they are in every single place. You cannot escape the MI5 and the CIA. They are veritable institutions of espionage. So they are all aware of what is happening. And it is for this reason, probably, that President Trump sees it necessary to come back to the negotiating table that he left with the Russians. The Russians have been very slow to talk. They don't say much these days. In fact, most of the talking is being done by the Russian media rep of President Putin, Peskov. Peskov has the onerous task of answering questions regarding what the Russians will do. One of those questions is, what are they going to do regarding meeting with Zelensky? He's a master in parrying all these questions now. He's a diplomat par excellence. The questions are unrelenting because for the very first time, the Western media is beginning to look at the possibility that Ukraine has lost this war. It has finally dawned on them. So we have a situation now where Ukraine says they want to sell drones to America, but that they are having shortfall in their budgeting. And this shortfall at a time that the Russians are attacking so much, the shortfall is affecting salaries of soldiers. How bad can news be at such a time? Shortfall in budgetary allocation when you're fighting a war that the soldiers need to be motivated. Already they are losing their motivation. Their morale is low in the war front, the battlefield, and then now their salaries. Zelensky sure does have a lot of problem in his hands. And the matter with the Ukrainians and the reality they are facing is challenging, especially since the Russians have been steadfast. They have not changed a single line of their request from the West and then 2 from the Ukrainians. They want all 5 oblasts that have been annexed, recognized by the Ukrainians. They want Ukraine to sign that they will revert to their 1991 constitution and become neutral country. They will not join NATO, and that they will just keep a military of 50,000 people. They are very unrelenting. Putin has been very steadfast. But even then, Russia is not sitting down. Russia has become such a big player on the international field. It just emerged that they just announced, besides the fact that the Russian economy is consolidating and getting better, they just sent in, on behalf of Iran, a satellite to space. The relationship between Russia and Iran is one that worries a lot of people in the West. And when you hear that it is expanding into space cooperation, the Iranians have their own space program. They've done that. They've sent some rockets into space and even sent some satellites into space. It was always thought that it was a ballistic missile program that they were testing. They were testing then. But now that they need communication satellites so that they can oversee. They call those communication satellites every kind of name, but we know that they are satellites, they are spy satellites, that they developed by themselves. It seems like sanctions have made the Iranians as innovative as sanctions have made the Russians. So they developed this satellite by themselves, and I'm very sure that these satellites can look into every bedroom and every kitchen in Iran, in Israel. I am sure of that because the technology is not one that is any more exclusive to America. Beyond that cooperation that is going on between Russia and Iran, Iran has always said that their biggest sin as a country in the Middle East is that they've stood up to Israel. And because they are standing up to Israel, they have had these sanctions against them. Then they have this war recently against them. But what was their sin? They supported Palestine. And from an unlikely corner, Palestine got a breath of fresh air. France, under President Macron, says from September, he will recognize the Palestinian state. I should point out that the Palestinian state is one that has been recognized by well over 150 countries. A majority of the countries of the United Nations recognize Palestine, but not the countries of the G7 and certainly not America. Rather, we are hearing very strange things coming out of the Knesset of Israel, where they are saying things like there shall be no Jews in Gaza, that the whole of Gaza will be only Jews. There shall be no more Arabs or Palestinians in Gaza. Already the starvation of children has started to make countries to have meetings. One was held recently in Colombia. Countries are standing up against Israel, and even Israeli terrorists these days are feeling the heat. They visit Greece, people will attack them when they are together. They visit Spain, people attack them. Palestinian flags are being unfurled in so many scenarios and so many places. It's becoming a problem. But Israel can be rest assured that they have a very strong supporter in Donald Trump. Donald Trump may be having domestic problems, no less because of Epstein. The Epstein saga has become a big problem. And the Epstein saga seems to be, they're tying it to the fact that Epstein was alleged to be a Mossad operative collecting not so subtle data that he was using to blackmail a lot of American politicians. That's what he said there. And then the Epstein files was one of the files that was promised to the American people that they will be released by President Trump during the election, only for the time of release to come, and there was a slowdown. There was a break because some people allege that Trump found himself in that list with some compromising pictures. How true that is, we don't know. But people do wonder what kind of hold the Israelis have on not just Donald Trump as a politician, but the whole American political class that make them so beholden to the state of Israel, to the point where immediately Macron made a statement, President Trump says that statement has no weight. Macron is a lightweight and it is not of consequence. Yes. He has been wrongly condemned by not only the Americans, but also by the French and by the Israelis, told him he can't do anything. So while Hamas is celebrating and commending the French President Macron, the Israelis are condemning him. It is also left to us to see if come September he can make good on that list, or if they may just approach him and show him some things that may make him to suddenly change his mind regarding the recognition of Palestine. But the Palestinians are in a bad place. It's so ironic that almost all the countries of the Arab world, of the Middle East, it's only Iran and the Houthis in Yemen that have taken action. Because while the talks under Erdogan have been very, very vocal in condemning Israel, Turkey has had a very robust economic tie with Israel. And through Turkey, oil flows to Israel. And also through Turkey, goods that have been blocked from getting into the ports of Eilat are being shipped through Turkish ship, to the point where the Houthis made a pronouncement today, unheard of, that from now on they are going to start attacking Turkish ships. Because the Turks, like I told you, they are under Erdogan, is the ultimate opportunist. He deals with anybody. And the fact that the Houthis have managed to close that very crucial part of the Red Sea that somehow ships pass through to get into Israel. Only ships that are allowed to pass are Chinese and Russian ships, and also Turkish ships. But Turkish ships are laden with goods that go to Israel at a time that the Gazans are being starved of aid, are being starved of food, and the Houthis couldn't take it anymore. And today they made a threat that they will start bombing and shooting those their hypersonic missiles that they have, that they've been shooting into Ben Gurion Airport, shooting into Israel, and have made even the Americans to quickly round up their program there, a campaign, a military campaign against them. The Houthis are a very hardy and stubborn lot. The threat to Turkey put a spotlight on Turkey as to the duplicity they have been showing in this Gaza case. They condemn and they profit. They condemn, but they profit. So these are very interesting times. Russia is moving ahead, making new friends. And one other news that just came out of Russia is that for the very first time, their economy, they have made 50% of all their international trade is now in their local currency. They've removed the dollar to a significant percentage. The other half is between the dollar and the yuan. The Russians are not only moving on the war front, they're also moving on the economic front. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians growing in innovation, coming up with all manners of strategy, but somehow it's not enough. It's just not enough. And they are at the back foot. So while it was announced that they want to sell drones to America, because let's not forget, America has three priorities in its new defense budget: $1 trillion. So in the big, beautiful bill, drone is one of them. And another one is nuclear-powered icebreakers to help free up the Arctic up north there. So drones are an opportunity now that Ukraine has, but Ukraine has also said they need more money. They need money. Underneath that statement of they need money was the gentle reason they need the money for, which is to pay salaries of soldiers. When Ukraine is not able to pay salaries of workers, there's only one outcome that can happen. The front line will collapse. It seems like the collapse of the Ukrainian army is much nearer than we ever thought. It seems like it's very close, because one, they're already facing low morale. They're facing a very formidable enemy. then they don't get the common and most vital incentive that they need. Already we know that when a lot of them die, even the money that was pledged to be insurance or money that their families will get, they don't even get it anymore. So what are they fighting for? When they start asking themselves, what are they fighting for? They will start retreating from the front. And already we are seeing that, we're hearing that when the Russians get to certain points, they've been besieging, they find that there are no Ukrainian soldiers or they have already left. That is what has led to the quick overrun of Pekrovsk in Kupiansk, in Sovlian. They are just taking over all over the cities now that had been very formidably defended. Now, the Russians are moving at a much faster pace. Within the past 2 weeks, they've covered ground by far more than they've covered in the past few years. And we may just be seeing the beginning of the end of the special military operation. This is where I end my video for today. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. Do well to like and share. Until I see you in my next video, goodbye.